And in today's video, we are going to chat. Um, it's always funny because I'll go a period of time without recording, and then I'll come back and I'll be ready to record 50 videos all at once. So I am wanting to talk through you all with my commonplacing. I do both digital and physical commonplacing. So first we are going to go through my physical commonplace, which is a Stalogy notebook, and then we are going to go through my digital commonplace, which I'm using Notion for. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned and we'll go ahead and get into it. So like I said, this is my physical um, commonplace journal. It is just an A5 Stalogy. It is the 4-year one. And so I don't know if you all remember in high school, but we had to do Cornell notes, which is where you fold the page in half or similar, something like that. You fold a portion of the page where you write like the title, maybe using a question or just like the title of that section, and then on the other side you have your notes. So I am in my master's program for a degree in psychology, and I am about to start a class that requires me to do my capstone. And so I am doing research ahead of time for my capstone, and I'm doing it on Superwoman schema. So I was watching a YouTube video, so I wrote the title here, and then so that I could reference it, and then when I get to showing you all my Notion, I actually embedded the video on there. But then I wrote, she said a few things that stood out to me, which is you all can't see it because it's a pencil, but it says Superwoman syndrome, aka Superwoman schema. And then on this side I just wrote what it is, how it comes about, and then the science of it, which is essentially what the video was about. Then there was a Superwoman syndrome quiz at the end of that video in the description, which I took, and so I wrote my results there, and then I spent a lot of time talking about that, and then I wrote what my exact scores were. I may not use this exact information in my capstone course, but it's really great because I'm the type of person that wants to know information and understand it, not just for a grade, but for my actual profession and professional growth and educational growth. Yeah. And so other than that green, the only other green was my takeaways about the video. And so I already pre-prepped another thing that I'm going to watch. Another, I guess, template setup that for when I watch another video, because the person I watched sort of has a series. So I just wanted to go back to the first page because I forgot to tell you all, I kept track of the date. So I really love Stalogies because there's the month, which is August, the day of the week, which was Monday, and then the date, like the actual day, which was the 17th. And so that is how I use my physical Stalogy, my physical commonplace. Really simple. Like I said, I'm just having the margins which state the thing. You could have done it as questions, but I really just wanted to be able to look at the bullet points, like what is it saying. And then I went through, like I said, I have my own results, and then my takeaways really help me understand where I'm at with this, why I wanted to use it, and all of those sort of things. And that's going to make a little bit more sense when we go into the digital. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and get into my digital commonplace, like I said, I use Notion. So this is my Notion. As you can see here, I have several different tabs: authenticity, becoming the best version of yourself, etc. So we are going to go to Superwoman Schema. I have the classes that I'm taking and have taken. So like in here it has my literature review, which has my actual paper that I pasted into here. And then my research. So I just created this today, so it doesn't have everything in there, but let me show you the video I just showed you all within the physical journal. And as you can see, like I stated, this is where I embedded the video in case I ever want to go back to it or use it for my sources or whatever. So as you can see here, I just have the same exact layout as I did with my physical journal. It just looks a bit different. One of the main differences is right here. I put notes of how this relates. And then at the end, I have my my takeaways. And so this talks about exactly why I wanted to use that information, how I'm going to use that information, etc., etc. Now, I do want to show you all something that I find really cool. I think it's in my relationship section. Okay, yeah. So, I'm taking notes from a podcast that I watched, and I don't know which one it is. I think it's this one. Again, I post the video so I can go back in and watch it, and then I take notes of the video. And then what I'm able to do is I'm able to go in and I'm able to reference another piece from the like a page from the Commonplace notebook. Let me show you an example here. So we are going to start sharing my screen again. Okay, so a perfect example is here. So I watched this interview, or whatever we want to call it, with Dr. Gabriel Mate. I put in my thoughts, and then as you can see, it has two backlinks. So when I go into my trauma, it's going to be there. Dr. Gabriel Mate, I have that article linked, but also in my healing section, I have Dr. Gabriel Mate linked, as well as, let's see, there was one other section, parenting. So again, let me explain what this looks like. When I go into each of these, so in parenting, that video is linked. In healing, that video is linked. And in trauma, that video is linked. So I can find that video no matter what I'm in, if it's related to that topic. So with life coaching, for example, these are confidential, so I can't really share, but if I'm referencing something from the Lost Lover Boy podcast, which I think I have at one point, I would be able to find it in another article if I sync that page. So let's give an example. I am going to go ahead and reference this video here, the one that we did. I'm going to put it in my mental health. Yeah, that'll be it. So I'm gonna add a page. We're going to put struggling with superwoman schema and how to overcome it. It can be, of course, whatever you want. That's just how I'm going to remember. And then, so I'm going to say YouTube videos again, because I intend to have both YouTube videos and articles. So then I'm going to add another page, and what you do is you go down to, I think I typed it in and it was either that way. Yeah, so I typed in P, and you go to link to a page, and you can link to any of your previous pages. So it says select a page. So I'm going to type in warning, and you see it comes up. So I'm linking there. I don't even have to do any extra work. That's automatically now there. You see it linked the entire thing. So as I stated, not only is, so let's see, it's going to be here in the research section in YouTube videos, and then when we go to mental health and struggling with superwoman schema in YouTube videos, it's also going to be there. So this is a really unique way that I can cross-reference things that I'm not necessarily easily able to do with just the one notebook. And so I really love that I was able to do this on Notion. These are all the areas that I am passionate about. It's of course going to increase, and I really like it because while I'm not going to take notes on every podcast, because sometimes I watch podcasts for pleasure, specifically with the Lost Lover Boy podcast, I really love the things that he's saying, and it's really resonating with me. And if I ever want to go back and get a refresher, I'm going to easily be able to, like, hey, let me go to episode 61 and let's see. Something unique that I also did with this is I put the first time I listened, so that I can also see how my mindset has changed and at any other points of listening. So what that would look like is I have second listen here. I would simply add a new page, and I would put today's date, for example, 8/19/26, and then that way I can literally keep everything intact from my first notes, while still also being able to have continuation of notes. Because in my opinion, whenever I go through a video or a piece of content, I am looking at it through a different lens each time. So whenever I go back through it, I don't want to be forced to look at it from the lens of the person I used to be. I want to be able to start over. So what we are going to do in today's video, though, is add to the healing, because I don't have a books section like I do for relationships. So we're just going to add that in. I like the way it looks lowercase with a period at the end. It was just my preference. It looks a lot cleaner in my opinion. Let me think. But when it comes to trauma, obviously I'm reading a lot of books. So I'm reading The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog. I'm also reading The Body Keeps the Score again. So let's put that in there. And things like that. So the only reason I commonplace things is if it's information. I'm not exactly commonplacing things just for the sake of, oh, this was something I watched. I have a completely different system for that. So this is part of my Ray OS system, which is just my operating system. So it has my commonplace, my thought journal, my comfort journal, and my private journal. My thought journal just has the ideas and podcasts for me as a thought leader. My comfort journal is going to have different things, but where I would include actual information that I take is in my 2026 goals, when I am going ahead and depending on what it's related to. So for example, reading self-help books or listening to podcasts, I'm going to keep track of every book I read here. I'm going to keep track of every podcast I listen to here. And that's pretty much all that I keep track of. Those are the things that are most important to me. Everything else, I'm kind of not as worried about. But if I were, there's several places I could put it. Like I said, maybe it's something that might bring me comfort. But typically, it'll either be in the commonplace journal, or if I have thoughts about it, I'll just write it in my physical journal. Now, the thing about the commonplace journal is that whenever I am doing my thought leadership work, if I wanted to reference something, so let's just have a notion. If I wanted to reference something, I could literally just link the page to, let's see, lost. I could just link the page to warning. Yep. Like, let's say I wanted to create a YouTube video about this. I could just link this, and then I could copy and paste some of this information. Let's see. I could copy and paste some of this information, take what I want, and then I could just remove that. And then as I'm going in and I'm creating the script for my video, if I'm having a script, I could say, I feel like Superwoman's schema is blah blah blah. And so that's how I take the commonplace from just being like something that's passive as in a database or an archive or something like that, to something that I'm actively using and interacting with, and all of those sort of things. So I just wanted to share this with you all because I thought it was very interesting. I love that I am creating this for myself, and that I'm really making an impact on the way that I interact with information. Because before, I was reading books and listening to podcasts and things like that, and I was never interacting with it again. Like, that would just be the end of it, which was very unfortunate. So if this helped you, if you really like this video, go ahead and give it a like. Maybe comment down below what your favorite part of the video was. Subscribe